Alright. Today, what I want to do is I want to read a chapter of this book. This is the book I've been reading, and it is really good. Now, I'm just going to read a chapter, one chapter of this book, out loud to you. And we're going to learn some stuff. We're going to learn some stuff about architecture. This book is about architecture. So the chapter today is on buttresses. Today we're learning about buttresses. This book is crazy. I have been sort of timing myself sometimes on how long it takes me to read. It takes me about 20 minutes to read one page of this book. This is the last chapter on roof cornices. Was that it? Yes. Chapter 24, the roof cornice. I use a different color for underlining. I'm going to need to underline. Alright, you're not going to be able to read this from here. That's alright, I'm going to be reading it out loud. And I have a lot of practice reading books out loud. Not that I'm going to be any good. I'm just saying. Something on my desk. Okay. We have hitherto supposed ourselves concerned with the support of vertical pressure only, and the arch and roof have been considered as forms of abstract strength, without reference to the means by which their lateral pressure was to be resisted. Okay, so we've been learning, we started at the base of a wall. We started at the bottom of a wall, and then we went to pillars, and the wall, and then the top of the pillars, and then the top of the wall, and then arches. We went from the ground up. And the roof cornice, this chapter might be actually a significant shift in chapters. That's what I'm getting off the first sentence, from the first sentence. We have hitherto supposed ourselves concerned with the support of vertical pressures only. See, he's talking about walls, the walls of the previous chapter. We've only been talking about vertical pressure. And the arch and roof have been considered as forms of abstract strength, without reference to the means by which their lateral pressure was to be resisted. Now we're talking about buttresses. We got a new field, lateral. How's Ruskin going to deal with lateral? And he really does, he cares about a lot of things. He's a very weird guy. This book is very weirdly written. I'm sure you can tell by that first sentence. This is not how normal books are written. 2. Okay, first off, do I want to underline any of that? Vertical pressure only. Lateral pressure. Few readers will need now... Okay, what? Few readers will need now to be reminded that every arch or gable not tied at its base by beams or bars exercises a lateral pressure upon the walls which sustain it. So he's saying this is obvious. Few readers will need now to be reminded. Here's something that should be obvious, maybe. Or maybe not, I'm not sure. We'll have to tell for ourselves. Every arch or gable that's not tied at its base by beams or bars. What does that mean? I feel like I know what an arch and a gable are now, but what is tied at its base by beams or bars? Exercises a lateral pressure upon the walls which sustain it. Pressure which may indeed be met and sustained by increasing the thickness of the wall or vertical piers, and which is in reality thus met in most Italian buildings but may, with less expenditure of materials and with perhaps more graceful effect, be met by some particular application of the provisions against lateral pressure called buttresses. Oh my jeebus, Ruskin. That was the worst sentence in this whole book so far, dude. That sentence was brutal. I'm not entirely sure what he's saying. I think he's saying that a wall is going to have lateral pressure. It's not just an up and down pressure. I think that's what he's saying. I think that's how obvious he thinks that is, that he says it in a way that makes us confused about what he's talking about again. We've gone back around. I think he's saying that a wall, or anything like vertical, has lateral pressure. You can fix that by, I guess, tying it at its base, whatever that means. Or making it thicker, obviously like a fortress wall. And then he has this roundabout way of saying that most Italian buildings use buttresses to do that kind of thing. There's a very light rain outside right now. It's very nice. So buttresses. Wow. What a fucking paragraph, bro. I fucking love this guy. Buttresses are of many kinds. Okay. Good. Fuck that first paragraph. Buttresses are of many kinds. That's what we wanted to know. According to the character and direction of the lateral forces, they are intended to resist. Okay. So according to. But their first broad division is into buttresses which meet and break the force before it arrives at the wall, and buttresses which stand on the lee side of a wall and prop it against the force. What does lee side? Look. Which stand on the lee side of the wall. This is why it takes 20 minutes to read a Ruskin book. That, and I look at pictures a lot. He's talking about buildings that still exist. What is the lee side of something? Lee side is the sheltered side. Huh. Sheltered from the wind. The opposite side of the windward side, which faces directly into the wind. So it's not necessarily about it being sheltered. Would the inside of a building be the lee side? Or is he still just, is he just talking about walls outside? No, but buttresses need... Am I insane that I need to like look up? Wait, can I put this on? No. We'll leave it. I'm just going to look up what is a buttress. I want to see how... Yeah, this is what I thought. These things. These are exactly the buttresses that I even pictured in my head. The Notre Dame ones. I don't know if Ruskin likes this building. He has not mentioned it once. In this book or the other book of his that I've read. He hasn't mentioned Notre Dame. He mentions... I don't know. Like a... Let's go back, actually. I have a whole... He likes this building. I'll tell you right now. I have ones in here that are buildings he doesn't like. But he likes this building. I think he would. I like it. We agree a lot. That one's gone. Oh my god. Can I zoom out? Ruskin? No. Ruskin likes this building. Yes, that rain outside is very nice. This is one of the buildings Ruskin has talked about. What an insane thing this is, as it as the front of your building. Oh my god, bring me back the thing. That dog down there has been going crazy for the last 2 days. Alright. So, buttresses are of many kinds. Their first broad division is buttresses which meet and break the force before it arrives at the wall. There shall be, I don't know, I can't picture that in my head. How would a buttress break the lateral pressure before it even meets the wall? I don't know. Picture? Oh, look at this picture. Why is this? Is that about buttresses? I mean, this is the buttress chapter. Alright, whatever. And the other division is which stand on the lee side of the wall and prop it up against a force. So stand on only one side. First, before it arrives, stand on the lee side. The second is the buttresses which stand on the lee side for some reason. Like a dam? No. That doesn't really make that much sense. Who knows? The lateral forces which walls have to sustain are of 3 distinct kinds. Okay, good. What kind of lateral forces are we talking about here? So far he's been saying lateral forces, and it's just been a very vague term of like physics that I'm not going to know. But here we go. Dead weight. Category 1 of lateral forces that are sustained by walls. Number 1. Dead weight. As of masonry or still water. So he's going to give us the 3 categories and explain them more in depth right afterwards. So what he says about dead weight so far is as of masonry or still water. Like a dam? Am I not out of my gourd? Moving weight, the second kind of weight, lateral force, the second kind of lateral force sustained by walls, as of wind or running water. Moving weight. And sudden concussion is the third type. Sudden concussion, he calls it. Moving weight and sudden concussion, as of earthquakes, explosions, etc. Dead weight, moving weight, and sudden concussions. This guy's crazy. Clearly, he says, clearly, dead weight can only be resisted by the buttresses acting as a prop. For a buttress on the side of or towards the weight would only add to its effect. Yes. So if we have like a wall and something is pushing against it, you'd prop it up with buttresses on this side that like angle down to the ground. See, this is the force. Okay. Leeward. That's one of the leeward buttresses then. Buttresses like that are definitely leeward buttresses. Preemptive buttresses. I'm going to write this down. My own terminology. Preemptive buttresses and leeward buttresses. Look how much I've already learned about buttresses in less than a page of this guy making the plural buttresses. Clearly, dead weight can only be resisted by the buttress acting as a prop. Yes. This, then, forms the first great class of buttresses. No, that's not what he says. This, then, forms the first great class of buttressed architecture. Buttressed architecture. That gets a question mark. Can I make this even more zoomed in? Will that stand? Oh, ow! Oh, look at that. You can really trust books. If you accidentally close your book, you can trust books to open back to like the page you were just on. There's still air in there. You don't think about that as a kid. Anyway, you can see it a little bit better. Oh, wait, I used my mouse. If you're watching me read Ruskin, you're in this for the long haul already. No. Shit. This one gone. Yes, that looks so good. That looks so good. You'll notice I just bookmarked it with that pen cap, but that's just because I can. You can trust the books, but you don't have to. Being met. This then forms the first great class of buttressed architecture. Lateral thrusts of roofing or arches being met by props of masonry outside and thrust from within, the prop from without, or the crushing force of water on a ship's side, met by its cross timbers. The thrust here from without the wall, the prop within. What? The first great class of buttressed architecture leeward buttresses. The thrust is coming from within, and the prop is coming from without. They're just pushing against each other is all he's saying, and he's making it complicated because that's his dad. Moving weight. Oh, okay, the second type of weight, moving weight, may, of course, be resisted by the prop on the lee side of the wall, but is often more effectually met on the side which is attacked. Huh. What does he mean? On the side which is attacked by buttresses of peculiar forms, cunning buttresses, which do not attempt to sustain the weight, but parry it, and throw it off in directions clear of the wall. What the fuck? What is that kind of a buttress? We looked that up already. When I think buttress, I think Notre Dame. He's going to give me some buildings, and I'm going to look at them and be like, whoa, that's a buttress? I want to see an example of this cunning buttress. Moving weight. Do not attempt to sustain the weight, but parry it, and throw it off in directions clear of the wall. On the side, more effectually met on the side which is attacked. Now, what does that mean? Thirdly, concussions and vibratory motion. This is the third class of lateral force. Sudden concussion. Thirdly, concussions and vibratory motion. though in reality only supported by the prop buttress, must be provided for by buttresses on both sides of the wall, as the direction cannot be foreseen and is continually changing. Continually changing being the earthquake. So if you are building a wall and you only support one side, that doesn't help you in an earthquake. I mean, I guess that makes sense, because whatever. It must be provided for by buttresses on both sides of the wall. Okay, how are we going to do that? Do we just not do that? I mean, how much explosions do we really need to prep for as an architect? Do I need to be thinking about sudden concussive forces? Is that shit I need to worry about? I'm going to write that down. Is that shit I need to worry about? Sudden concussive forces? I don't know. We shall briefly glance at these three systems of buttressing, but the two latter, being of small importance to our present purpose, may as well be dismissed first. Okay, fine then. I was thinking moving weight sounded crazy. Moving weight buttresses sounded crazy, and concussive vibratory motion buttresses also sounded crazy to me. I was like, what? But apparently those are very rare and they're not important here. When he says our goal, he says being of small importance to our present purpose. He likes to call it present purpose and not our goal or anything like that. Is to critique Venice and Renaissance art and architecture. But so I don't need to know about these two other ones. So let's go through them first. And I like that. It's like we don't need the second two, so we're actually going to go over those first just to get them out of the way. I like that. Buttresses for guard against moving weight and set towards the weight they resist. Section 1. The most familiar instance of this kind of buttress we have in the sharp piers of a bridge in the center of a powerful stream, which divide the current on their edges and throw it to each side, both adding to the strength of it in resisting a cross blow and giving a better chance of a bullet glancing aside. So he gave us a couple examples of these parrying buttresses. The example I understood was a bridge with a pier in the middle of a stream that is parrying the stream. Throw it to each side. Now it's doing that continuously, but it's still parrying at every instant in response to varying pressures. It's not like gravity or weight. It is parrying. It's in the act of parrying right now. Every bridge pier you've ever seen is in the act of parrying water, like I'm playing Sekiro. Then he said something about a bullet. The sharp pier in the center of a powerful stream. A ship's bow. Oh, I skipped a line. And throw it to each side under the arches. Okay, so that I skipped a line. It's easy to do that. That's why you read it a bunch of times. A ship's bow is a buttress of the same kind, and so also the ridge of a breastplate, both adding to the strength of it in resisting a crossblow and giving a better chance of a bullet glancing aside. Okay, I completely skipped that line when I first read it. So let's read it again in full. The most familiar instance of this kind of buttress we have The most familiar instance of this kind of buttress we have... No. How is this said? There's no comma here, but I feel like there should be. The most familiar instance of this kind of buttress we have in the sharp piers of a bridge. That's how it's supposed to be read. The most familiar instance of this kind of buttress we have in the sharp piers of a bridge, in the center of a powerful stream, which divides the current on their edges, and throw it to each side under the arches. A ship's bow is a buttress of the same kind, and so also the ridge of a breastplate, both adding to the strength of it resisting a cross blow and giving a better chance of a bullet glancing aside. A ship's bow is a buttress. Interesting. I mean, that makes sense. It does make sense. And the breastplate would be a buttress for sure, now that I'm thinking about it. So buttress is much more broad for Ruskin. But these two aren't... We're not going to talk about them. These are not... In Switzerland, projecting buttresses of this kind are often built round churches, heading uphill, to divide and throw off avalanches. Oh. Now, what if I Google church in Switzerland on mountain avalanche protection buttress? Now, I don't think this is going to work. Image? This thing? This? Let's get rid of avalanche protection. Church in Switzerland on mountain. I know we'll get a bunch of those. It needs to be on a mountain. Let's make these a little bit bigger. Do we see any... This? Like this? Like that there? Is that what he means? That church looks like it was around when Ruskin was writing this shit. I'm sorry, this glorious fucking content. Fuck HBO. I'll read Ruskin. In Switzerland, projecting buttresses of this kind are often built round churches, heading uphill to divide and throw off... I can picture it in my head. I don't know what this is. These churches are... What the fuck is that? A brutalist spiritual sanctuary. Oh my god. Oh my god, bro. No thanks. Just want to look at your fucking picture. That is... I do not like that, I think. I think I really don't like this. What is that? A little... It does kind of look good in snow. To be honest, it looks like a fake. I mean, it looks like it's from a movie. Or from a TV show. Or from a video game. That is where you get a lot of architecture. The cross up there, the side beams are like thicker than the... It doesn't go high. I think Ruskin would hate it, but that's not the point. Let's get back on... We're done with that. Alright, what the fuck was we talking about? In Switzerland, I don't... Okay. The various forms given to piers and harbor quays... harbor quays, and to the bases of lighthouses. In order to meet the force of the waves are all conditions of this kind of buttress. Okay. I see what he's saying now. He used the personification word cunning to describe these types of buttresses. They're cunning buttresses. Off avalanches, I want to underline. Now, what is a harbor quay? What is a harbor quay? A harbor quay is a flat concrete stone or metal platform that runs along the shoreline of a harbor river where boats can be moored. Okay, so it's just one of these things. The flat edge of a river. Interesting, a quay. Okay. I want to get rid of that. I don't want to see that anymore. A harbor quay. But in works of ornamental architecture, such buttresses are of rare occurrence, and I merely name them in order to mark their place in our architectural system. Since, in the investigation of our present subject, we shall not meet with a single example of them, unless sometimes the angle of a foundation of a palace set against the sweep of the tide, or the wooden piers of some canal bridge quivering in its current. So we will see, this is just a little bit of flair, unless sometimes the angle of the foundation of a palace, because this is Venice we're talking about. This book is The Stones of Venice. Venetia. Okay, so we're done with the moving weight one. Interesting. Very interesting, to be honest with you. But whatever. Moving on. Buttresses for guard against vibratory motion. The whole formation of this kind of buttress resolves itself into mere expansion of the base of the wall, so as to make it stand steadier, as a man stands with his feet apart when he is likely to lose his balance. He likes things that are instinctive. He feels instinctiveness crosses over into more than just what feels instinctive to people. This approach to a pyramidal form is also of great use as a guard against the action of artillery. All right, that's true. We sometimes need stones, buttresses for that. That if a stone or tier of stones be battered out of the lower portions of the wall, the whole upper part may not topple over or crumble down at once. Various forms of this buttress, sometimes applied to particular points of the wall, sometimes forming a great sloping rampart along its base, are frequent in buildings of countries exposed to earthquakes. They give a peculiarly heavy outline to much of the architecture in the kingdom of Naples, and they are of the form in which strength and solidity are first naturally sought in the slope of the Egyptian wall. When he says Egyptian wall, is he referring to the pyramids as wall? Or is he talking about... I don't know. Maybe they're little burial things that didn't have that weren't pyramids. The architecture of the Kingdom of Naples. This. Let's see if this can be Googled. The architecture of the Kingdom of Naples. In Italy? This? That is an interesting slope that's not usually there. There's some sloping. Look at that. There's some sloping. Is that what he means? But these don't slope. Okay, look at that. Look at that thing. Whoa. Whoa. Weird building. Very weird building. Now when I see buildings, I'm like, whoa, what's going on there? Look at this roof cornice. It's the kind of roof that you have to be able to walk on. That's its category of roof cornice. Oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. This approach... Okay, we're done with this. We're done with this, right? The base of Guy's Tower at Warwick is a singularly bold example of their military use. Boom. Thank you. We're going to look that up. I'm searching. Wouldn't that be crazy if that was this tower? That would be a miracle. Checkmate, atheists. Guy's Tower at Warwick. Guy's Tower. It's getting hit by lightning for some reason. That one? Is there a little slope there? It's kind of hard to see. The base of Guy's Tower at Warwick is singularly bold example of their military use. And so, in general, bastion and rampart profiles, where, however, the object of stability against a shock is complicated with that of sustaining weight of earth in the rampart behind. So it's a great example of a sudden concussion buttress that also has to deal with holding dead weight. That's what he's saying. Let's get a different picture than that. Walls. The base of its... Oh, just that one tower? Base of tower. I mean, there's the top. I want the bottom. Me and Ruskin. Whoa, look at that. There it is. Is that the tower he's talking about? It does have earth behind it. Look at this. Ruskin walked through this portico and drew these windows, dude. Guise and Caesar's Tower. The picture on the left is the gatehouse and is of Guise Tower. On the left. Caesar's Tower. Okay, so he's talking about this round one. Ruskin is talking about this round one. Not that other one. This is so weird. There it is. Is that the best image we're going to get? No, I didn't transition. Oh, God. A failure. Here's Warwick. Whoa, I don't want to be zoomed in this on this page. Here's Warwick's castle. No, it's not this tower. It's this one. This one here. He's talking about the base of it. What? I guess so. That's definitely Guy's tower. Caesar's tower is that one, and that's... I guess it's big. It is making it thicker. That was the way he said it. He likes... I think it's this, too. To be honest, I think it's this little thing here. Ruskin's been in this room. He studied that window. Alright, whatever. A great example of it, but I can't... I don't know, it's kind of hard to see. It's been 40 pages, and 40 minutes, and I've done one page. This Buttresses page has been actually pretty crazy. This Buttresses chapter has been one of the crazier ones so far. Roof cornices was easier than this. So we don't have to care about this anymore. So it's very weird and interesting, but I don't have to care about it anymore. There's just a time sink. So we're to the end, last part. 3. Prop buttresses against dead weight. This is the group which we have principally to do. And a buttress of this kind acts in two ways, partly by its weight and partly by its strength. It acts by its weight. Hold on. Partly by its weight, partly by its strength. It acts in two ways, partly by its weight and partly by its strength. It acts by its weight when its mass is so great that the weight it sustains cannot stir it, but is lost upon it. When its mass is so great that the weight it sustains is paltry, is negligible. So it's just so big that the stuff on top of it can't do anything about it, but is lost upon it, buried in it, and annihilated, this guy says. Look at the way he says this. It acts by its weight when its mass is so great that the weight it sustains cannot stir it, but is lost upon it, buried in it, and annihilated. Neither the shape of such a buttress nor the cohesion of its materials are of much consequence. A heap of stones or sandbags laid up against a wall will answer as well as a built and cemented mass. I see. So this is one of the ways that a buttress can buttress a wall. It's like if you build a wall and then put a bunch of dirt on both sides to help hold it up. When I'm planting and I like crump up the dirt around the bottom of the plant to help it hold up, I'm buttressing it. I'm giving it the third class of buttresses. A buttress against a dead weight. So is the dead weight the buttress itself? No. Let's not get crazy here. The first way that it acts is by its own weight. The second way is by its own strength. I'm guessing that this by its own weight is going to be the least talked about one. That's kind of how Ruskin does things. He goes through the fast things. Fast, I say. This has been 40 minutes. I'm not even going to say anything. It acts by its weight. Neither the shape of such a buttress nor the cohesion of its materials are of much consequence when its weight is the only thing we care about. A heap of stones or a sandbags laid up against the wall that'll be a buttress by its weight. But a buttress acting by its strength is not of mass sufficient to resist the weight by mere inertia. it conveys the weight through its body to something else which is so capable, as, for instance, a man leaning against a door with his hands and propping himself against the ground, conveys the force which would open or close the door against him through his body to the ground. Wait, I got lost there. What the fuck? What the flippity doodah? A buttress acting by its strength is not of mass sufficient to resist the weight by mere inertia. A buttress acting by its strength is not big enough for something. It conveys the weight through its body as to something else which is so capable. So it conveys the weight through its body to something that can hold the weight. In the way is this in the way that an arch conveys the weight above, like to the pillars on each side? Not of sufficient mass to resist the weight by mere inertia. Okay, so then he brings up this image of a guy. A man leaning against a door. So not the doorway, he's very specific with his words. A man is leaning straight up against an actual door. And he's propping himself against the ground. So he's leaning on the door and he's standing on the ground. He conveys the force which would open or close the door against him through, so any amount of force that he's conveying towards the door, however much force that is, he's conveying it to the ground, which is obviously better at holding the weight. The fuck? Conveys the force which would open or close the door against him through his body to the ground. A buttress acting in this way must be of perfectly coherent material. Okay. When he says coherent, he means like stuck together. Not a bunch of sandbags. He needs it to actually be, and so strong that though the weight to be borne could easily move it, it cannot break it. Aha. That's important. And so strong that though the weight be borne could easily move it, it cannot break it. This is the way this guy does it. This is the way Ruskin does things. This kind of buttress. But, okay, I compared this to, like, HBO or something in terms of content. This is so well done. This is like if you were to watch a movie and be like, whoa, the cinematography is crazy, bro. Whoa, I didn't even understand what was happening at that one part. I had to read it again. I had to go back and watch it again. Good thing it's a book. This kind of buttress may be called a conducting buttress. Conducting buttress. Practically, however, the two modes of action are always, in some sort, united. So the two modes of action being the supporting by weight and supporting by strength. They are always united to some extent. Again, the weight to be borne may either act generally on the whole wall surface or with excessive energy on particular points. So the whole wall surface, what he means is like if you piled up a bunch of dirt up against a wall. That's what he means. With excessive energy on particular points means it's like a beam that's attached to the wall at a particular place. He just words it as excessive energy on particular points. That's how he words the wall is just It's a beam that is only attached to the wall in certain places, and it's not a whole pile. When it acts on the whole wall surface, the whole wall is generally supported, and the arrangement becomes a continuous rampart, as a dike, or bank of reservoir. I told you, damn. I said damn, and I'm a genius. Or bank of reservoir. Get fucked. A dam is a buttress. It is, however, very seldom that lateral force in architecture is equally distributed. In most cases, the weight of the roof, or the force of any lateral thrust, are more or less confined to certain points and directions. Okay? So he's saying, if you have like a building, the forces, the lateral forces are not evenly distributed. If you take a bunch of weight and put it all on top of a base, and put that base on top of a bunch of walls, that weight is kind of being evenly supported by the walls, but the lateral forces maybe are more varied. If you were to look at a building, it's much harder to see where the lateral forces are. Maybe that's what he's saying. In an early state of architectural science, this definiteness of direction is not yet clear, and it is met by uncertain application of mass or strength in the buttress, sometimes by mere thickening of the wall into square piers, which are partly piers, partly buttresses, as in Norman keeps and towers. What is he saying here? So he's saying that early on in architecture, it's difficult to understand where these lateral forces are going to peak. And sometimes you can just guard against all of it. You'd be like, I don't know where the lateral forces are peaking, so I'm just going to make everything really strong. You can thicken the wall into square piers, which are partly piers and partly buttresses. Let's see if I can find... Oh, wait, Norman being the like, area of Europe? Norman keeps and towers of Normandy. No. Normandy. Ooh, square. They're square. Very square. There's some round stuff. He was talking about squaring things. Is that... That just says keep. That's just the Wikipedia page for keep. Norman keeps. Clickety, clickety, clickety. Norman keeps. This? Is he talking about this? Look at it though. That is what he's talking about. These little parts. He says. Where does he say it? In an early state of architectural science, this definiteness of direction is not yet clear, and it is met by uncertain application of mass or strength in the buttress, sometimes by mere thickening of the wall into square piers, which are partly piers, partly buttresses, as in Norman keeps and towers. He means these. Isn't this crazy? Like, he's probably looked at this fucking castle. I have seen, there was a picture in here. He like drew a picture like this one. Oh, you can't see it. You can't see it. This picture here, with this window, with this arrangement at the top, I found a picture of it. I found a picture of this exact window. That's the kind of thing you can do with these Ruskin books. You can just find the pictures. And we just found the pictures of those Norman keeps. It's rewarding when it is something so obvious, or when you can see so clearly. See, it even does it there. What is this bullshit? I don't care about this. You see? Right there? Interesting. Okay, let's continue. Oh, we're on this page. It's kind of darker. It's harder to see when I have the book like that. I don't care. It is, however, no, we're done with that. But as science advances, the weight to be borne is designedly and decisively thrown upon certain points. The direction and degree of the forces which are then received are exactly calculated and met by conducting buttresses of the smallest possible dimensions, themselves in their turn supported by vertical buttresses acting by weight, and these perhaps in their turn by another set of conducting buttresses, so that in the best examples of such arrangements the weight to be borne may be considered as the shock of an electric fluid, which, by 100 different rods and channels, is divided and carried away into the ground. Wow. Okay, the first half of that was easy to understand, I think. The last part was got a little bit crazy when he gave it a metaphor. He gave us a little sort of comparison. As science advances, the weight to be borne is designedly, I like that word, the use of that word, and decisively thrown. So as we got better, we didn't need to just sort of guess and just we can calculate this shit. Exactly calculated. And met by conducting buttresses of the smallest possible dimensions themselves in turn. So he's saying you could get like you can calculate the strength and support it in tons of different ways and have it be complicated. The best examples of such arrangements, the weight to be borne may be considered as the shock of an electric fluid, which by 100 different rods and channels is divided and carried away into the ground. The shock of an electric fluid. What does that mean? In order to give greater weight to the vertical buttress piers, which sustain the conducting buttresses. Conducting buttresses are what exactly? Has he used that term yet? I don't think he has. Conducting is more of the strength type of buttress. In order to give greater weight to the vertical buttress piers, which sustain the conducting buttresses, they are loaded with pinnacles, which, however, are, I believe, in all the buildings in which they become prominent, merely decorative. You see how many commas are in old writing, dude? Look at this. Let's count the commas on this. Might be the most commas in one line. Buttresses, comma. They are loaded with pinnacles, comma. Which, comma. However, comma. Are, comma, I believe, comma, in all the buildings in. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. No, I'm 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 6 commas. That might be a record. Oh my god. In order to give greater weight to the vertical buttress piers which sustain the conducting buttresses, they are loaded with pinnacles, which, however, are, I believe, in all the buildings in which they become very prominent, merely decorative. Okay, interesting. In order to give greater weight to them, I'm not sure what that means. They are of some use indeed by their weight. But if this were all for which they were put there, a few cubic feet of lead would much more securely answer the purpose, without any danger from exposure to wind. I don't know what he's saying here. Sometimes, look, sometimes with this guy, you just move on. You got to pick your battles. And it's not as often, it's not as clear cut which battles you should pick and which battles you shouldn't pick. But this one, I'm gonna move on. If the reader likes to ask any Gothic architect with whom he may happen to be acquainted, oh yeah, sure, dude. I got tons of Gothic architect friends, to substitute a lump of lead for his pinnacles, he will see by the expression of his face how far he considers the pinnacles decorative members. So if I were to go up to a Gothic architect and say this kind of bullshit, he'd make a big face, and that face would tell you the truth, that the Gothic architect finds these to be decorative. He's shitting on Gothic architect pinnacles of Gothic buttresses. Now, hold on. Hold on a second here. Is Notre Dame Gothic architecture? Isn't it? Notre Dame is a masterpiece of Gothic architecture. Uh-oh. 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 Notre Dame Buttresses. Uh-oh. Ruskin against this? He might not like it. This does look like some sort of electricity fucking bank. Taking the weight and like dividing it up all over the place. There's so many calculations going on here. Look at the 3 tiers. These buttresses going over all of them. What was that? Oh my god, that image in Elden Ring? You're just gonna have to bear with me. There was a section in Elden Ring that looked very inspired by... Look at the buttresses. Doesn't that look like Notre Dame? My freaking... This is a tangent. I'm going to go on a little tangent. This is going to be a little tangent. My freaking architecture YouTuber. I do have one architecture YouTuber. His name is Extra Office. He's actually a professor of digital architecture or something like that. It's sick nasty. He was playing Elden Ring and like reacting to the architecture of Elden Ring, and dude, he did not get very far. He didn't get to the good shit. The good shit is this. And where's my Lindell picture? How's this for architecture, bro? Is this it? Yes. I wanted him to look at this architecture, dude. But he didn't. Anyway, tangent over. Elden Ring inspired. That is absolutely what... Look at that. Wait, are these... How similar are these? These little dots? 4 with dots? There's a lot more than 4, but they kind of go up the same. And it does have those little lines underneath. Do these? No, these don't have the little things hanging. But that is absolutely... These ones are off-center with this. No, they're just rounded. But that is architecture for sure. Back to buttresses. I got sidetracked. It happens. This page has been faster than the last one. They are of some use, blah, blah, blah. In the work which seems to me the great type of simple and masculine buttress structure, the apse of Beauvais, the pinnacles are altogether insignificant and are evidently added just as exclusively to entertain the eye and lighten the aspect of the buttress as the slight shafts which are set on its angles. And so now we have to look at the Beauvais. What the fuck? The Beauvais? Beauvais. Asp. Is it gonna know? Oh, apse. Beauvais Cathedral. Apse. Construction sequence. Apse? Is this the apse? What the... Wait. What is the apse of a cathedral? I didn't transition, did I? Sorry, see, we're getting better. The apse is the semicircular or polygonal recess, often found at the eastern end. So this would be the outside of the asp? Oh my god, what is this zoom function? Oh my god, look at this fucking building. I mean, the scaffolding doesn't help, but you can see the stuff. Can I get one without scaffolding? Good god. Holy shit, this thing is tall. Is that it? This picture is fucking tiny. Cathedrals are insane, dude. Well, it would be high resolution. I can buy this? What are you talking about? I can just buy this picture? Look at all this shit going on with this. The pinnacles? What did he say about this? It's in the work which seems to me the great type of simple and masculine buttress structure, the apse of Beauvais. The pinnacles are altogether insignificant and are evidently added just to What are these pinnacles he's talking about? Pinnacles. The pinnacles of a buttress. I'm gonna have to fucking Google that shit. What are the pinnacles on a buttress? Pinnacles are pointed ornamental architecture features common at the top of buttresses. So these thingies? These pointy thingies? Okay. These then? Wow. Wait, so is this wall here basically a buttress for this? This shit is so insane. Look at this fucking building, bro. You ain't never seen a building this crazy. What the fuck is it doing? These little pinnacle thingies? I think he's talking about these. You see these little teeny things on top of these? I think that's what he's talking about. It's hard to know. This chapter is brutal. They're just there to lighten the eye. While in other very noble Gothic buildings, the pinnacles are introduced as niches for statues, without any reference to construction at all, and sometimes even, as in the tomb of Consignoria at Verona, on small piers detached from the main building. So the pinnacles on this... What the fuck is he saying, bro? This guy is so brutal. Get rid of that. That one. That one. Sure. Get rid of this. We don't need Geese Tower anymore. Or that. Now he's talking about the tomb. The tomb of Caen. Ignoria. Ignoria. At Verona. Okay. Wait, didn't I see this before? No, that's a different one. Wait. It says in the tomb. On small piers detached from the masonry. Is that it? Can I go zoom skis? Zoom skis, Lawoom skis? Oh, look at that. Look at that. Weird. This is a buttress. You can see it's attached with the little things there. And there are little statues in them. Even this one. Oh my god, dude. Look at this building. Look at how much stonework is on this building. It's just insane. Whatever. Okay. I think he likes that. Is that the one he really likes? Ruskin likes this arch. I think that might be the one he talked about, but it might not. I don't give a shit. It's hard to keep up with this guy. Let's keep going. We gotta keep going. We gotta make more progress. That paragraph was rough. I believe, therefore, that the development of the pinnacle is merely a part of the general erectness and picturesqueness of northern work. I think he just took a whole page and 18 different examples and metaphors to tell us that the pinnacle is BS. Not really. Not BS, but it's decorative. Of northern work above alluded to. And that, if there had been no other place for the pinnacles, the Gothic builders would have put them on the tops of their arches. They often did, on the tops of gables and pediments, rather than simply not having them at all. But the natural position of the pinnacle is, of course, where it adds to, rather than diminishes, the stability of the building. That is to say, on its main wall piers, and the vertical piers at the buttresses. So he's saying that he does this all the time, Ruskin. If you put piers on top of a buttress, you're just making the buttress weigh more, and you're not making it any stronger. So you're actually like doing damage to its structural integrity. Now, you're not doing much, and all that crap looked decorative anyway, so you don't need it probably for that much physical strength. But Ruskin still doesn't like it. He doesn't like things that are added on for decorative reasons that make the whole thing weaker. He's not going to like that. And that's one of the reasons he doesn't like Gothic buildings, because he says they do that. They put pinnacles all over the place. We just looked at those two pictures. There were pinnacles everywhere. That shit was bonkers. He's saying that even if they didn't put them on buttresses, they just find somewhere else to put these things because they just like how they look. It's not there for anything else. pinnacles are fine, says Ruskin, but they should be on the main wall piers and stuff like that. And thus the edifice is surrounded at last by a complete company of detached piers and pinnacles, each sustaining an inclined prop against the central wall, and looking something like a band of giants holding it up with the butts of their lances. He's talking about Notre Dame and stuff. Those things we looked at where it was like an insane number of these like little buttresses to get completely unlookable. Like it just turns into a blur. This arrangement would imply the loss of an enormous space of ground, but the intervals of the buttresses are usually walled in below and form minor chapels. Okay. The natural position, this is what I'm going to underline. Natural position of the pinnacle is, of course, where it adds to rather than diminishes the stability. Let's move on to these. We got an image now. Our lighting is going to be a little bit better because we don't have the book blocking the window light. The science of this arrangement has made it the subject of much enthusiastic declamation among the Gothic architects, almost as unreasonable in some respects as the declamation of the Renaissance architects respecting Greek structure. This is some niche, cliquey. Ruskin doesn't like these people, these groups, the Gothic architects and Renaissance architects. He's saying they're catty bitches about something that's stupid. Is that what he's saying? The fact is that the whole northern buttress system is based on a grand requirement of tall windows and vast masses of light at the end of the apse. Okay, that doesn't sound like bad to me. The fact is that the whole northern buttress system is based on the grand requirement of tall windows and vast masses of light at the end of the apse. So we were looking at this. Clickety. I don't like that one at all. We got these big windows here. And these buttresses try to help facilitate what light? The fact is that the whole northern buttress system, this crap. Now I say crap, that's not necessarily my opinion. I don't particularly like this. I would never design a building with this kind of... It looks like scaffolding, bro. It looks weird. I don't particularly like it. But I know Ruskin doesn't like it, and so he's probably giving some bias to me. In order to gain this quantity of light, the piers between the windows are diminished in thickness until they are far too weak to bear the roof. That's why they have to be external buttresses. In the Italian method, the light is rather dreaded than desired, and the wall is made wide enough between the windows to bear the roof and so left. Interesting. So this, let's go back to the picture in the book. This here would be northern, Gothic, northern, that doesn't look like the word northern, but whatever, or Gothic, wants light, and then this is Italian, doesn't want light, dreads light even, dreads light. And it's pretty obvious to see how this would let in more light and how this would block more light. But now what he's saying is that because one of the byproducts of this desired look is that these guys can support the whole weight of the roof on their own. And so you just stick the roof right on top of it. The problem with these is that they can't. So they have to be external buttresses. Like this. Because these are pointed outwards, they can't really sustain any roof that might be wanted. Now, there's not going to be a wanted roof here. This is just one example. But they have to be external. That's what he's saying. I guess. This guy goes out of his gourd. In order to gain this quantity of light, the piers between the windows are diminished in thickness until they are far too weak to bear the roof, and then sustained by external buttresses. In the Italian method, the light is rather dreaded than desired, and the wall is made wide enough between the windows to bear the roof, and so left, period. In fact, the simplest expression of the difference in the systems is that a northern apse is a southern one, with its interfenestrial piers set edgeways. What in the fuck? What is an interfenestrial pier? Look at the crazy shit like HBO ain't giving me that. HBO ain't using fancy words. Interfenestrial piers. The Interpier Project? What? Fuck off. Architecture? No. I don't want that. Fuck. Architecture. I want interfenestrial, motherfucker. Nowhere. The idea of a vertiginous city overtaken by rampant technology. The fuck? Interterrestrial. Google's never heard the word interfenestrial. Okay, let's get rid of the quotes and the hyphen. Interferential. Let's actually leave the quotes, but get rid of the hyphen. Interferential therapy. God dang it. Nothing. Interferential. That is exactly... Google has not heard of this word. Interferential word meaning. Interferential. No. Doesn't appear in the Standish. Okay, it's guessing. It's fernestrial. Ferned? Abounded with ferns? Thank you for the guess, Google. Okay. I think that's all I'm going to get. But wow, I don't know what Ruskin is on, dude. I want to be on it. Thus, a northern apse is a southern one with its interfernestrial piers set edgeways. This one? So these are called interfernestrial? Fenestrial? Did I say fenestrial or fernestrial? I said fernestrial, interfenestrial. Oh, I fucked it up. Nope. Between fenestrae. A fenestrae is a small opening or pore, especially in bones or other biological structures. Dude, that's what Ruskin meant. Interfenestral means situated between windows. So I did spell it wrong. I was spelling it wrong. So interfenestral means between windows. These things, let's say there are windows here and here. Wow, it got bright. These are interfenestrial. This guy is out of his gourd. Thus, A, in figure 42, is the general idea of a southern apse, Italian. Take it to pieces and set all the piers edgeways as at B, and you have the northern apse. Okay, I labeled them correctly. You gain much light for the interior, but you cut the exterior to pieces. And instead of a bold, rounded, or polygonal surface, ready for any kind of decoration, you have a series of dark and damp cells, which no device that I have yet seen has succeeded in decorating in a perfectly satisfactory manner. Now, I kind of agree with him. I don't think that this looks good. Notre Dame. Buttresses. Oh, look at that. Look at that picture. That is a picture I like. Give me, please. What are you fucking with me for? Look at that picture. Oh, that makes me want to look at that Elden Ring picture again. There's little small ones. Uh-huh. He describes them You gain much light for the interior, true, but you cut the exterior to pieces. And instead of a bold, rounded, or polygonal surface ready for any kind of decoration, you have a series of dark, damp cells, which no device that I have yet seen has succeeded in decorating in a perfectly satisfactory manner. If the system be farther carried, and a second or third order of buttresses be added, the real fact is that we have a building standing on 2 or 3 rows of concentric piers, with the roof off the whole of it, except the central circle, and only ribs left to carry the weight of the bit of remaining roof in the middle. And after the eye has been accustomed to the bold and simple rounding of the Italian apse, the skeleton character of the disposition is painfully felt. After spending some months in Venice, I thought Bourges Cathedral looked exactly like a half-built ship on its shores. Let's go, Ruskin. Whoops, I just smacked my camera. Hopefully that wasn't super loud. Whoops, wrong button. Bourges Cathedral. Can I just see the picture, please? Oh my god. What a big boy. Oh my goodness, that's a big boy. That's a big one. Okay. So let's read this part again with this. I think I agree with Ruskin's opinion here. I think I agree with Ruskin's opinion about this. What is one we can look at? What is that Milan Cathedral? No. With the dome? No, what was the one with the dome? Famous domed cathedral, Europe. This one. I knew it would be like the first one. just get the... Oh, he loves this building. This is the one with this tower? He loves this building. He has talked about this one before. He adores this building. This might be one... I mean, it's not his favorite building in the world. But he does love it. I kind of like it too. I kind of think it looks good. He likes the tower next to it, but he likes this. Oh, look at this. This is the opposite of this. These, now obviously this is ginormo or whatever, but architecturally speaking, he loves stripes too. Ruskin loves stripes. He's a stripes guy. If the system be further carried, and a second or third order of buttresses be added, the real fact is that we have a building standing on 2 or 3 rows of concentric piers. So we have this row of piers in here, this second row of piers, this row of piers, and these like buttress piers. We have 2 or 3 concentric piers that form the building, with the roof off the whole of it, except for the central circle. Only the central circle actually has its roof on. And only ribs are left to carry the weight of the bit of remaining roof in the middle. These bits of remaining roof. He's calling the buttresses remaining roof? Or is he saying this remaining roof in the middle is being carried by these piers? To carry the weight of the bit of remaining roof in the middle. And after the eye has been accustomed to the bold and simple rounding of the Italian apse, the skeleton character of the disposition is painfully felt. After spending some months in Venice, I thought Bourges Cathedral, exactly this one, looked exactly like a half-built ship on its shores. It is useless, however, to dispute the respecting merits of the two systems. Both are noble in their place, and Northern decidedly the most scientific. Interesting. The Northern is decidedly the most scientific. I'm going to put a star by that. Or at least involving the greatest display of science. Dude. The Italian, the calmest and purest. This having in it the sublimity of a calm heaven or a windless noon. And other than... Okay, he's getting a little imagery. This I like. It is useless, however, to dispute respecting the merits of the two systems. Both are noble in their place. The Northern decidedly the most scientific, or at least involving the greatest display of science. I would not have attributed this to a display of science. Where's the other one? I would not have attributed this as displays of science. But you know what? I mean, look at this shit. That is a display of science. Interesting. And when he says that, he is making sociological claims. This guy doesn't Ruskin doesn't keep his He doesn't disconnect things from each other. He greatly believes that architecture is tied directly to like the soul of its nation, of its place. The northern decidedly the most scientific, or at least involving the greatest display of science. Good clarification. The Italian, he clarifies there because it's like the greatest display of science. What they think science. They're trying to go out and say, look at our science. The Italian, the calmest and purest. This having in it the sublimity of a calm heaven or a windless noon. The other that of a mountain flank tormented by the north wind, and withering into grisly furrows of alternate chasm and crag. Holy shit. This, he's saying, is that it has the feeling of a mountain flank tormented by the north wind and withering into grisly furrows of alternate chasm and crag. Dude, the Elden Ring guys, I feel like they fucking read this section, this paragraph. This is supposed to have a negative connotation in how it feels. This game was crazy. I gotta get that YouTuber to react to those. Anyway, back to business. That was a good paragraph. We talked about this, and we got all those good examples. I'm going to underline Burgess Cathedral so we can look that up later if we need to. I loved this line at the end. Italian, the calmest and purest. This having in it the sublimity of a calm heaven or a windless noon. The other, that of a mountain flank tormented by the north wind, and withering into grisly furrows of alternate chasm and crag. If I have succeeded in making the reader understand the veritable action of the buttress, he will have no difficulty in determining its fittest form. He has to deal with two distinct kinds. One, a narrow vertical pier, acting principally by its weight, and crowned by a pinnacle. The other, commonly called a flying buttress, a crossbar set from such a pier, which detached from the building, against the main wall. This latter, then, is to be considered as a mere prop or shore, and its use by Gothic architects might be illustrated by the supposition that we were to build all our houses with walls too thin to stand without wooden props outside, and then substitute stone props for wooden ones. Okay, so here... Oh my god, this guy is so out of his gourd. Here's what he's saying. He's told us about the different types of buttresses, and he says that... He also says that there's another type of... Where was Notre Dame? What was that other one we had? I should have saved it. Warwick? No. Coastal Towers? No. That one? Yes. This needs to be put into my Ruskin folder. This needs to go in the Ruskin folder. No. A little cleaning. Oh, that goes in there. Oh, that goes in there. I like that building. I can tell you right now, Ruskin likes this. Oh, that goes in there. Look at that building. Isn't that building insane? Isn't this better than HBO? Isn't this better content than anything? This is better than... What's that show? The show where the innies and outies go to work? Severance. This is better than Severance. Crazier than Severance, too. Sorry, Severance. You ain't this crazy. Look at this shit. Look at that shit. That shit's bananas. He's talking about these crossbars. He thinks those are dumb. He uses those as evidence that they're lame. Is he? A flying buttress. A crossbar set from such a pier. This latter then is to be considered as a mere prop or shore, and its use by Gothic architects might be illustrated by the supposition, the sociological supposition, that we were to build all our houses with walls too thin to stand, without wooden props outside, and then to substitute stone props for wooden ones. No, he's not talking about just these. These are all flying buttresses. These are all flying buttresses. Not just those steel bars. Now, I don't know if they're steel, but that's what I'll describe them as. I have some doubts to the real dignity of such a proceeding. That's his way of saying it's ass. But at all events, the merit of the form of the flying buttress depends on its faithfully and visibly performing this somewhat humble office. So the flying buttress can retain dignity and respect as long as it's doing its job. Which is what? To prop or shore? If it's actually being a buttress, at least I can respect it in that sense. That's what Ruskin is saying. If these things are actually being real buttresses, I can respect them. At least I can respect them. But I'm sure that sometimes they're not. Let's start there. I have some doubts of the real dignity of such a proceeding. Alright, where were we? It is therefore, if it's doing that little job, it is therefore in its purity a mere sloping bar of stone with an arch beneath it to carry its weight. That is to say, to prevent the action of gravity from in any wise deflecting it, or causing it to break downward under the lateral thrust. It is thus formed quite simple in Notre Dame of Paris and in the Cathedral of Beauvais, both of which we looked at. While at Cologne, the sloping bars are pierced with quatrefoils, and at Amiens, with traceried arches. Ooh, we're getting fancy. This is definitely more than 20 minutes a page. I'm almost at 2 hours. All right. At Cologne Cathedral. Apse, outside, buttresses, Cologne. Whoa. Holy crap. Oh my god. This shit is so dumb. Why would I buy this image? Look at that. Oh my god. I do actually, the more I look at this kind of shit, the more I dislike it. At Cologne, the sloping bars are pierced with quatrefoils. Look, this one has the little tassels underneath the arches that the Elden Ring has. Oh. Maybe this is more. Maybe this is more the cathedral at Cologne than Notre Dame. I mean, it's the same general style. Gothic flying buttresses. Quatrefoils. It's kind of hard to see quatrefoils in here. Oh, there it is. There it is. Oh my God. You see the buttresses with the quatrefoils in there? Interesting. I do kind of like that. I mean, I'm a fan of quatrefoils. I like quatrefoils. While at Cologne, the sloping bars are pierced with quatrefoils, and at Amiens with traceried arches. This can go into the Ruskin folder. Amiens Cathedral? Buttresses. Amiens Cathedral. Oh! Look at that. That's traceries. Look at that. That's interesting. Both of these, here's what Ruskin says about these. Both seem to me effeminate. Now, I will say that he's used masculine twice now and effeminate once. I will defend him. When he says masculine and definitive, when he says masculine, not and effeminate, masculine, he means like he's talking about a strength and stability of like the building. He would consider like just a giant stone to be like a masculine structure because it's like, well, it's you can't push it, like it's strong. It's supposed to be strong, and effeminate is supposed to be delicate. And he does have a lot of respect for effeminate, I'll tell you that right now. He talks a lot of shit about a lot of stuff. He does not talk any shit about effeminates. It's false in principle because it's not doing its job. It looks weak, and it is weak, is what Ruskin is criticizing it for. And false in principle, not, of course, that there is any occasion to make the flying buttress heavy, if a light one will answer the same purpose, but it seems as if some security were sacrificed for the purposes of ornaments. At Amiens, the arrangement is now seen to great disadvantage, for the early traceries have been replaced by base flamboyant ones, utterly weak and despicable. Of the degradations of the original form which took place in after times, I have spoke about in page 35 of the 7 Lamps of Architecture, which I also own, but I've lent it out. So they had to replace these. Is this the old one and this the new one? Look at this one. This one's definitely been fixed. Look at how fucked up that one is. There's a wide variety of health on these things. What's on the other side? Isn't this weird, like, looking? I don't like this. Ruskin is successfully brainwashing me. Can I go to the fucking place, please? Oh, look at that picture. Look how tall this shit is. There they are. There they are. They're the little archways. With an extra buttress down here. So they had to do 2 buttresses just so they can get one with these arches on it? So many buttresses. How does Sun get to this? Come on. It's got to get through all this, like, jail cell, iron bars level shit. Ruskin. This page can go into Ruskin. So apparently these actually were structurally weak and they had to be replaced. I guess. I don't know. I can't go back in time and look at the old ones to see what the fuck Ruskin was talking about. We're almost done. We're almost done. One more paragraph. 2 more paragraphs. The form of the common buttress must be familiar to the eye of every reader. Sloping, if low, and thrown into successive steps if they are to be carried to any considerable height. There is much dignity in them when they are of essential service, but even in their best examples, their awkward angles are among the least manageable features of the Northern Gothic, and the whole organization of its system was destroyed by their unnecessary and lavish application on a diminished scale, until the buttress became actually confused with the shaft, and we find strangely crystallized masses of diminutive buttress applied for merely vertical support in the northern tabernacle work, while in some recent copies of it the principle has been so far distorted that the tiny buttressings look as if they carried the superstructure on the points of their pinnacles, as in the Cranmer Memorial at Oxford. Indeed, the most modern Gothic and the architects... Okay, hold on. Let's stop there. So he's basically just talking shit for a little bit. Cranmer Memorial, Oxford. Martyrs Memorial? I want Cranmer. I want Cranmer. Okay, so it looks like it used to be called Cranmer's Memorial. Or, yeah. Does this say Cranmer somewhere? Thomas Cranmer, there we go. Can I get a bigly big pic? Oh, there we go. Look at that. I got bigly big. Now, what am I looking for here? Buttresses on this? Am I seeing any buttresses? Oh, wait. He's talking shit about this. He doesn't like this. What does he say? The whole organization of its system was destroyed by their unnecessary and lavish application on a diminished scale. So you mean small. Like this. This is much smaller. This building is doing all the rows. This is Gothic, but it's small, so it can't get these big spaces. It's like faking it. You just have to like imagine that there are little buttresses back here, little flying buttresses. Until the buttress became actually confused with the shaft, and we find strangely crystallized masses of diminutive buttress applied for merely vertical support in the northern tabernacle work. On some recent copies of it, the principle has been so far distorted that the tiny buttressings look as if they carried the superstructure on the points of their pinnacles, as in the Cranmer Memorial at Oxford. He doesn't like this at all. Indeed, the most modern Gothic, the architects evidently consider buttresses as convenient breaks of blank surface and general apologies for deadness of wall. They stand in the place of ideas. I want to put this the words on camera when he says this shit. They stand in the place of ideas, and I think are supposed also to have something of the odor of sanctity about them. He calls it the odor of sanctity. Otherwise, one hardly sees why a warehouse 70 feet high should have nothing of the kind, and a chapel, which one can just get into with one's hat off, should have a bunch of them at every corner. Oh my god, he is talking shit about this little thing. He does not like this. Look at it though. I want a little bit zoomed out. Look at this nonsense. Otherwise, one hardly sees why a warehouse 70 feet high would have nothing of the kind, and a chapel, which one can just get into with one's hat off, I want to underline with one's hat off, should have a bunch of them at every corner, and worse than this, they are even thought ornamental, when they can be of no possible use. And these stupid penthouse outlines are forced upon the eye in every species of decoration. In St. Margaret's Chapel, West Street, there are actually a couple of buttresses at the end of every pew. What? Now this guy is first and foremost a critic. An architecture critic. It's Chapel. Whoops. Chapel. West Street. Pews. St. Margaret's, sure. Whoa, what? What is that? Wait. Is that a pew? That is a pew. Those are seats, individual seats. Weird. That's not on all of them. These? No, now I'm just getting a bunch of different churches. And these stupid penthouse outlines. Penthouse. Now, is he talking shit about, like, the top here? Let's go back to that one picture. Like, it's trying to make you feel like it's going up into the sky, like a penthouse level? Or does penthouse mean something different in 1850s when he wrote this? It is almost impossible, in consequence of these unwise repetitions of it, to contemplate the buttress without some degree of prejudice. And I look upon it as one of the most justifiable causes of the unfortunate aversion with which many of our best architects regard the whole Gothic school. It may, however, be regarded with respect when its form is simple and its service clear. But no treason to Gothic can be greater than the use of it in indolence or vanity, to enhance the intricacies of structure or occupy the vacuities of design. The fuck? This guy is so out of his gourd. It is almost impossible, in consequence of these unwise repetitions of it, to not be prejudiced against the buttress. And I think that this misuse of the buttress, this is what Ruskin is saying. Ruskin is saying that this misuse of buttresses is the most justifiable reason for hating the Gothic school of architecture. He says unfortunate aversion instead of hating. It may, however, always be regarded with respect when its form is simple and service clear. But no treason to Gothic can be greater than the use of it in indolence or vanity. So he's saying that this is a betrayal to Gothic. He doesn't like Gothic, and this is a betrayal to Gothic. Interesting way of wording that. Not sure what he means by that. Then the use of it in indolence or vanity, to enhance the intricacies of structure or occupy the vacuities of design. This is the last thing we're going to look up. Okay, yes, vacuity, that's what I thought. Sheesh. All right, how long was that? 2 hours. For 1, 2, 3, 4 pages. So on that one, 30 minutes a page. Oh my God. That one was crazy. That one was a crazy chapter. Chapter 15. If you don't know, I've been rating every chapter out of 10. Let's see. Chapter 15. Let's leave the ratings blank space. Or, oh my God. Let's leave the rating space blank for now. Hard chapter, difficult. New. It felt like there was new. It was like a that was a difficult chapter in my opinion. That might have been one of the most difficult chapters so far. The Buttress. And it was very opinionated at the end, which I like. I like when he gets opinionated. He is a critic. I want him to be a critic. I don't always agree with him, of course. But that's not the point of liking a critic. You don't like a critic because you agree with everything they say. You like a critic because it's easy for you to get information about what you'll think from that critic's opinion. You can easily translate that critic's words into what the thing actually is, or what it's supposed to be, or how it might feel to you. Difficult. Buttresses. Anti-Gothic. Definitely anti-Gothic, that chapter. That chapter made me hate Notre Dame. Can you believe that shit? I mean, I am making a concerted effort to be unbiased as I read it. I don't want... He has asked me to. Ruskin has specifically asked me in the earlier chapters, he said, I want you to use your instinct when you respond to the things I show you, or like, don't base your opinions about things based on me or what I'm trying to be as objective as I can, and then ask you to make objective opinions. And Ruskin, of course, will give you his own opinions. But he doesn't expect you to have those just because you're reading his book. He's just helping you understand where he's coming from. And he does not like Gothic architecture. I don't think I do either. I'm going to go 9. I don't want to give it a 10 because it was pretty hard. Interfenestrial piers. I might go 10 though. Well, the figures could have been better. Give me one more figure of buttresses, and that would help me out a lot. One more figure in here. This is nice. I want one more figure in there. I'll go 9 out of 10. Oh my God. Oh, I need to write down 30 minutes per page. The last chapter on roof cornices was 22 minutes per page. 30 minutes per page is high. Anyway, that's what it's like. That was chapter 15 of volume 1 of John Ruskin's Stones of Venice. This is the shit I'm reading. This is the shit that I'm reading. I ain't reading no Harry fucking Potter, bro. This is my shit. Now, I have told myself, this is bonus. If you're done, you can exit off. But this is a 2-hour video. If you're done, you're here for me, probably. I have told myself that if I finish reading this book, I get to go on a vacation to Venice. That's the only way I'll earn a Venetian vacation. Okay, so volume 3 is pretty small. There's the volumes. Volume 3, The Fall. Volume 3, The Fall. Volume 2, The Sea Stories. Whew. Alright. That's it.